Hey, we're back again, everyone. Another new day and big step moving on in the project. I got everything done on the inside. It's all ground, sanded and primed. Probably when I do the final sand to paint the interior, I'll touch it up a bit and put some seam sealer on everything and go from there. So this morning I started out as usual with my coffee, catching up with YouTube channels that I follow, and Kyle over at Carter's Auto Recycling, his newest video that came out is basically doing a lot similar to what I'm doing on the 59 here, and he made me look like a total hack the way this turned out. So what he calls is as good enough for Bondo is way better than what I am, but I think his skill set's a little bit better than mine, and it comes with practice. So the one thing I took away from that is I have to figure out controlling the heat for TIG welding on sheet metal. It looks like it turns out way better. There's way less grinding, way less sanding, and what you it's just a quicker way to do it. TIG welding or MIG welding, you can only do 1/8 of an inch at a time, so you spend all kinds of time waiting for stuff to cool down. So the other thing I wanted to do today before we get started is just mention a few of the channels that I watch. I mentioned Carter's. The other thing we got here is some of these guys have been following me since the beginning. See if I can zoom in here. We got Mike over at Desert Rat 2000. Got Robert up there at Vino Rat Rods. Iron Horse Garage. Andy's Doghouse. The old Perico store over in New Zealand. They do a lot of fun stuff, dirt drags and everything. And then we've got Nathan here at, oh, come on, focus. Nathan's Mopar Garage, come on. Nope, it ain't gonna do it. Stinking cameras. Anyhow, what we're moving on to next on the 59 here is the rocker panels and step plates. I have the new ones right here. The driver's side actually isn't terrible, but the passenger side is all rusted out and damaged. So I'm just, oh, let me get back here on focus. No wonder it's causing us trouble. Here we go. Okay, one more light to shut off here so we can see what we're doing. Talk about prepared. Just about fell under the hoist. So, okay, so we have the step here, and the way it's installed is the step slides in, come on light, and it's spot welded from the outside to the inside. Same on the bottom here, all the way across. It's got some sort of a brace right there. Another brace here, so there's going to be spot welds that run down here on both sides, as well as a little bit of a brace that goes into the front corner here. That's another project that's coming fairly soon here, is repairing the cab mount corner there. So I'm going to start hacking this out of here. The one that I'm worried about is the very top seam. These ones overlap from the top down, and that goes in from behind. So kind of my plan here for removing this, I'm going to cut it close all the way around with the zip disc, remove it, and then I'm going to work on grinding out or drilling out all of the spot welds so that I can take it out. Same thing here, I'm going to cut it below on top. That way it'll just pull straight out and allow me to get it out of there. This should be a fairly easy project. I hope I just didn't jinx myself. But it will make a huge difference once we get rolling on it. So the cutting and hacking has begun. So what I've done here is I made a cut across, up. I came inside of where this brace is here. I left this square where the brace is on the bottom, or on the inside of the step. I made a cut across the top, down the side, and out. And what I did was I stayed just outside where all the spot welds are. Now I can get in there with a screwdriver, find the spot welds, and just grind them all out here. I started drilling these ones because they were easy to see. There's a whole whack of them across the top here as well. So, okay, I'll get this pulled out of here and we can start getting rid of spot welds and get this ready for the new one to go in. I decided to start in the center here, and wherever I saw a dimple in the piece of steel, I used a 5/16 drill bit and I just drilled in part ways, and then I just take an old wood chisel, and if it doesn't quite want to come, I just drill it a little bit more. They'll usually pop right out. I like to take it fairly easy. I don't want to distort the piece of steel any more than I have to. Yowzer. Well, that one's off. All I have to do to clean this up now, give this a grind, treat it with some rust converter, and we'll be good. So now I have to carry on, and I have to do that on this entire seam all the way across, down the sides, across the bottom, and the same on this side here. I've got some of them started already. And then there's some really ugly welds up in the corners here that I'm going to have to try and cut and grind out. And the same thing down here, so I'll probably cut below it and then I can get in there and grind that piece out. I got all of the spot welds drilled out and removed on this side. This piece isn't in bad shape. There was quite a bit of damage to this. I don't know what they ran over, but it had this all pushed up. It's pretty rusty down here, so what I'm probably going to do is hammer all of this straight again. And then I'm going to replace the bottom section of it here. So I'll have to break a 90 and then weld it onto the bottom here. So I'm just working on the front side here now where the step comes on. So oops, sorry about that. So the rocker panel comes down and it overlaps on the front of the A-pillar here. What I did was I just used the 2-inch die grinder and I ground right through the rocker panel, and then there's a big ugly weld in the corner here that I gently cut through with the zip disc, and then I just started rolling this back, and it's revealing all of the spot welds. So as I go, I can just keep pulling up on it and drilling the spot welds, take that right up to the end here. And then I'll have the same to do here. I'll have to drill all these spot welds, as well as this. There's a bracket up at the top here, this support bracket that we'll have to cut all the spot welds on as well. This corner here is a real pain in the ass. They welded it down and then across, as well as you've got the brace behind it. The only good thing is it doesn't look like there's any spot welds into the floor here. So I think once I get the rest of these spot welds out, that piece should just pull out of there, and then I'll have to figure out how to clean this weld out so I can tuck the new one up inside there. Other than that, this came apart really nice and clean. I'll just get it all ground up and then I'll treat it with rust converter. Okay, I'm hoping you can see what's going on here. This is the inside of the old step, and what I'm doing is I'm grinding the spot welds from the back. I'm using a die grinder with a cutting disc on it, and I'm just oblonging and cutting through each of the spot welds, and then I can pry on it and it'll kind of pull out, and you can see where you've got to grind a little more. And I'm just working my way along. I'm going to get rid of all of these spot welds, and this piece should just pull out, and the new one, once I clean this edge up and straighten it all out, should go right back in, and I'm going to plug weld it from the outside instead of from the inside. It'll be a whole lot easier. There's no way to get a drill in here unless you've got a right angle drill. That worked really well, guys. So just by grinding through all of these, I got rid of all of the spot welds. There's only one that I couldn't get from underneath, and that was the one right here just behind this little gusset. I drilled it from the outside. This whole piece then just dropped out. So that wasn't too bad. Now I've got a bunch of cleanup to do, and I've got to repair this back section, and we can proceed with putting the new step and rocker panel in. Okay, so we're back again. It took about an hour to get the old step and rocker panel out, and then it's taken me a couple hours to get everything cleaned up, do the repair on this broken piece back here, or bent piece. Then I've got everything rust converted. I've got all the holes drilled for plug welds, and I've got weld through primer on everything. So I'll just set this in and show you how it fits. Okay, so everything goes in really nice and tight on the corners, except for at the back here. And if I recall, on the old step, this piece was bent at the wrong angle, so I'm only going to be able to plug weld it about halfway up, but there's plug welds all the way across the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this in as tight as I can, and then I'm going to screw it in place with some sheet metal screws so it pulls everything in nice and tight for me, and then I can start doing all the plug welds. Once I get this all set up here, I'll bring you back. Everything's in here ready to start plug welding. This was a real son of a bitch to do. There's from the factory, this is dinted in for some reason where the seat cross brace comes down. So I ended up having to put a bolt, a 3/16 bolt, and nut here to suck this out. And then I put screws in just to hold everything snug. I've got the same thing down here. I got it clamped. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start plug welding all the way across the bottom here, and then in my center brace. She's all plug welded in. I got a bit of a mess up in the corner here. I didn't realize I ran out of MIG gas. It kind of screws things up pretty good. So I've got to change bottles. I've got these corners to weld up yet. This one kind of takes a dive for some reason. I'm going to have to fix that line up a little bit. And then on the front, everything's good. I have to weld this corner, and this just needs to get bent in a little bit. These things fit really good for what they are. I'm quite pleased with them. Back at her again here, another new day, Sunday morning. I've got all of the plug welds all ground down. I still got to do the ones in the center here, and I'm just working on this corner here, and I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this. So this rocker panel here, the line comes back, but then it kind of drifts off up. This, for some reason, it comes up like this, and then at the back end it goes up considerably, so it's not lining up down here. So I'm going to have to try and manipulate that with my hammer and dolly, see if I can get it to work it out a little bit there. I'm not terribly worried about it. Like I say, we're not going for perfection here, but I want it a little better than it is. At the front, it seems to be really consistent, and it comes in and lines up here really good. This fender is out a little bit because it took a really hard hit at the front, and it'll come out because it was hitting the fender. So I'm going to manipulate this with a hammer and dolly back here and see how good. We're back. I got this lined up way better than it was. I'm going to call it good. Flows in here, a little bit of a bulge here. I can't do too much with that without getting into dissecting it, and I'm not going to bother with that. So what I've done is I finished cleaning up all of the welds. I gave it a 80 grit with the DA, and then all of the black primer that was on the step plate, I gave it a good scrubbing with some 3M Scotch-Brite, and I'm just going to throw a quick coat of red oxide on here just to so we don't get any rust. A bit of dusting. You guys have all watched. We're done. Lots of priming, lots of painting. You probably don't need to watch this. So. Quick dust coat, and then we'll finish it off here. Okay, it's all primed. That wraps up this side now. I'm going to head over to the other side. I think if I total it up, I've got a total of about 4 hours into this side, including almost an hour fixing all of this dent and the rusted out piece at the bottom there. The other side's going to be a whole lot easier. There's no rust in it. All I have to do is cut all the spot welds, tack welds, pull it out, and put the new one in. I'll probably have to deal with the same issue at the back edge here, where the line doesn't quite line up, but that'll be okay. One other side note I just wanted to go. This is my third Cubitron disc since I started lengthening the cab. What I find is you can grind, these start out about 3 1/4 inches, I believe they are, maybe they're 3 inch and this is only 2 3/4, but I trim off 1/8 of an inch at a time, and you can keep working down on this. Once it gets too small for this, it's probably 1/2 an inch, 3/4 of an inch bigger than my 2 inch one. So I trim it down 1/8 of an inch at a time and just keep going. And once they're too small for that, then I can trim them down to my 1 1/4 inch here, and I get about 3 more trims before they're no good anymore. So I guess it's well worth the 65 bucks I had to pay for that box of 15 of them. I'm nowhere near halfway into the box, and I've got the majority of all my welding and cutting and everything done here, including the shortening of the box. So that's pretty decent. We'll go over to the other side and get started there. We got the driver's side all cut out, all fit, and ready for a little bit of rust converter. I got to drill all the holes and everything for all the plug welds. This corner worked out almost exactly the same as the other side. So it's just going to need just a touch of fine tuning on the corner and it'll all be good. So took me probably an hour and a half to get this side out, cleaned up and ready for assembly. So that'll be tomorrow's project. I'll carry on with that, and I'm going to give the 28 here a little bit of loving. It's been sitting for 3 months under the tarp, just covered with dust. I figured after 3 months I should probably fire it up before the computer kills the battery and let her warm up. We got a wicked beautiful day going outside, going to be 10 above. Well, I must have caught her in time. She fired right up. So she's pretty bright out here. Gonna get some dust blowing off of her and cleaned up a little bit, make it look a lot better. So better close the door, the dust will all come right back inside. So that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video. A couple of other channels I forgot to mention. Go check out Brent Mongrel's Garage. Does a lot of cool stuff, fixing up write-offs and LS swaps, and I think he's even got a Hemi swap coming up. J-Ride Customs, guy from Manitoba, I think real close to Winnipeg there. He does a bunch of stuff with Chevys and COE cabs and conversions like that. There's a whole bunch of channels out there. I can't remember them all. If I missed you, it's just because I'm old and I got a bad memory. So anyhow, guys, thanks a bunch for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Next video, we'll be back working on all that mouse piss rust repair up in the A-pillars. Take care.